Hello, it's Lisa and Lauren from Artist Moving, and we're so excited. We have our friend Sharon Burton on today. And bravo, you just released, or you're going to release a new book. Tell us about it and tell us the why. Why did you create this book?
Well, thank you for inviting me to join you and share about that. For those of you that may not be familiar with me, I'm Sharon Burton. I am a creativity coach with Spark Your Creative Coaching. And yes, I am releasing a book. It's called Creative Sparks 21 Affirmations and Inspiration for Creativity at Midlife. And this book will be launching May 14th. And I am just totally stoked about it. It's been a process I've been involved with since roughly 2018. And to get to this point, it's been kind of like, it's been an interesting ride, but I am just so excited to be here. Why did I do this book? As a creativity coach, I work with artists or would be artists. I work with musicians and writers and a variety of other creative types, mostly that are over 40 and 45.
Mm.
And one of the things that I kept getting from a lot of people was a sense of uncomfortability, if there is such a word. I don't know if comfortability is a word, but anyway,
Sounds like a
I'm
good
going
word.
to use this.
I like it.
People feeling not as confident
Mm.
as I felt that people should, because these people are very talented about what they do. And even those that may not be in the quote unquote talented arena, they are doing work that is just phenomenal.
Mhm.
And they're not comfortable, and they feel that they've left the train station, or the train has left them as far
Mm.
as making an impact with
Mm,
their art and creativity.
mhm,
So as a result of that, I started thinking about my own journey. My own journey as a visual artist started really as a child, but didn't actually get manifested until I was in my late 30s.
mhm,
And I was very afraid to call myself an artist, to feel comfortable being an artist. And I
Mm.
had to have people nudge me and kind of push me out there. And I had to really get myself motivated, and to the point where I was confident to show my work in exhibitions and arenas and, art spaces rather. So I thought it would be really helpful for my clients to have something that could help them feel comfortable in their role of being an artist, being
Mm.
engaging in their passions, because there's so many things that keep you from doing that. And, life is lifing. And
Yeah.
particularly in our, Gen X, I'm a Gen X. A lot
mhm.
of us are, we're a sandwich generation. We're trying to get kids out the door, but we're also caring for our parents, or we're
Yeah.
dealing with a lot of things. Maybe we are able to retire early, and we want to get involved in our creative passions, but how do you do that? What are some of the things I need to keep in mind? What are some things that can help me? So what I did with Creative Sparks was look at common things like everything from imposter syndrome to dealing with grief. A lot of us are
Mhm,
dealing with the grief of our
mhm.
parents,
Wow.
even
Yeah.
people in our age group that we didn't
Right.
expect to see folks.
Yeah.
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 Um, Even grieving what the life we lived prior to COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
Yeah.
us
That's
had
so,
to
yeah.
make some shifts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's a grief process with that.
Yeah.
Um, we're also talking about things such as, our self-talk, our inner critic.
Yeah.
And affirmations have been a lifesaver for me. They're
Mhm.
not the only thing that
Right.
helps me move
Mhm.
forward, but
Right.
they are very powerful. For
Mhm.
example, I do morning pages, uh,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
or morning journaling. And what
Very
I
important.
do, what I started doing the last few years is writing out affirmations like 7 times before I start writing, because
Oh,
that
Oh,
wow.
sets the goal for me. And I
Right.
was like, I wonder how that would work for other people, because I know affirmations are very popular right now, but a lot of times people don't know, outside of repeating them and saying, oh, I like that, but making that kind of a way to rethink about how you feel about yourself and about
Mm.
being creative as
Mhm.
a midlife person who's dealing with so many things. So I get into making creativity a priority. I get into things like space, because I found a lot of creative books didn't talk about how do you create a supportive space
Mhm.
for
Right.
your,
Yeah.
and helping you think through, okay, even if it's my kitchen table,
Mhm.
why did I choose that space?
Right.
And
Mhm.
what can I do to make it mine for my creative process? So we get into I get into a lot of different things, and I have affirmations that are signed to them, but also I interviewed some creative people about some of these different topics. Lauren, who I agreed to be a part of the book, and she is involved. So I have quotes from them, and in the back, I do share. I was not able to get all the bios like I wanted to, but I share who they are, their website, because I actually wanted these artists and creatives to take this journey with me and to
Mm.
be a part of this. A lot of times people have contributors, but then they don't necessarily give them much love afterwards. And I was like, no, we're all in this together. These are people I've known, who I've interviewed for my own podcast, I've gotten to know through the magic of internet. And I admire some of them. I've worked with in exhibitions as an art curator in the Washington, D.C. area. So a lot of them I've known for a number of years. And I valued their input in the book, and really excited to have you, Lauren, and all of these beautiful creatives that are creating over 40. I think
Uh-huh.
Lauren, for example, is a very important piece because she's still raising kids and
Yeah.
still trying to balance a household, but yet she stays creative. She's also creative with Artists Moving. She keeps it moving. How does someone like that? A lot of people
Yeah.
feel they can't do any of that. And she's running she's co-chair of a national organization. She's creating her own thing. People need to hear from folks like this to
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
that, hey, I can do this. It doesn't have to be something that I wait until I retire.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
can go into
Yeah.
retirement, and, understanding that creativity is self-care, which is one of my biggest pieces. A lot of people, when you
Yeah.
think about your creative practice from that point of view, you start prioritizing it more. It's
Right.
not this kind of side thing, but when I challenge people, think of it this way. How does it make you feel? Just like you take time to get your hair done, your
Mhm.
nails, massages, all of
Mhm.
that. This is part of that. Start thinking it from
Yeah.
that perspective,
That's great.
and that may have a better, a bigger priority in your life. And,
Mhm.
you know, just helping people think through, if you're in a household with a lot of different people, what can you do to shift some things that you do on a regular basis onto other people, or even telling people, all right, Tuesday nights from
Right.
Right.
6 to 9 is mine. I'm
Okay.
going to be
My time.
creating this is my room that I'm going to be
Mhm.
creating in. I don't want anybody, and it's stuff
Right.
that we all
Yeah.
know, but we don't think about it. We
Right.
Yeah.
just say to ourselves, it's not going to happen. I can't do it, but you can, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is reminding people, yes, you have the power to engage in your creative passion. It does not have to make money. We get caught
Mhm.
up in the capitalism and
For
all
sure.
that. If you're not trying to sell it, don't feel bad about that. Don't feel guilty. But I do have a chapter that talks about getting your work out there if that's what you truly want to do. And,
Mhm.
helping you, think through why do you, you asked me the why, why do you want to get your work out versus not,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So the
Yeah.
book kind of goes through everything from creative blocks to, like I said, inner critic, imposter syndrome to grieving. Also, sharing your work as part of maybe social justice issues. You know,
Mm.
a lot of times as creators, a lot of us are in tune and a lot of us aren't, especially if you're new to it. You know, if you feel very passionate about what's going on in the world, how can your creativity work with that? Can it be a silent auction, you know, option? Or do you want to help people create murals in your community that brings light to those issues? You know, do you want to help an organization with their marketing and, you know, their graphics and you know, creating art that helps them to convey a message? You know, there's so many things that you can do.
Yeah.
So, you know, of course, we can't get into all of it, but I try to really focus on really helping people feel good about creating after 40. You know, you don't have to be the superstar at 25. And if you weren't that art superstar, um, a musician, a singer, or whatever, you can do it anytime you want to. You know,
Yeah.
giving people permission and giving them a support through affirmations and helping them write their own affirmations
Right.
to spell any thoughts that they may have.
I love that. I think it's so important to let people know that in a way it's easier than you think. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard at times, but it's easier than you think to do something that's intimidating. I love that kind of message. You said you started in 2018. It's 2023. And what you explained, that's
2024.
Oh my
Right.
gosh, it's 2024.
Don't worry about it, because
Oh my
I actually I
gosh.
printed some flyers about the book and said it was going to be coming out in 2023, and I didn't.
See,
That was weird.
this is how
But anyway,
this is how
how
fast
fast
time
things are moving.
goes.
Yeah,
So that and what you described sounds like a lot of work about like
yeah.
just organization and collecting the people and the quotes. And talk about that a little bit. I'd like to hear about the work that goes into it, because I think that we should shine a light on that, you know, all the hard work you've put into this.
Sure. This wasn't an AI publication by no means, because if that was the case, I would have whipped this thing up, you know,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
last year. It it took a lot of time. For example, the book I originally was going to write was going to be a little different. It wasn't going to be as inspirational, actually. It
Hmm.
was going to be more like, what is creativity? How does that work for you? How can you be unblocked? That sort of thing. Um, for me, you know, writing outside of poetry was very different. I'm a visual artist, so I know what that's like. I know the rhythm of that. I know how long it usually takes me to finish a piece. This was a whole different ball game. I started off, you know, on a different kind of place, and you know, with the pandemic,
Mm.
even though I had time to write, I mean, it was just so,
Yeah.
you know, it was a weird thing because everybody says, well, you know, I'm at home and I can do all the
Right.
things, but it's different, you know, when you're in a state, when your country and your neighborhood and your community is in a quote, state of emergency because of something that we can't see or feel or taste, but can make us very ill, and people were dying from it. And it just made you, the whole isolation piece, you know, all that, it was very disturbing. But the beauty of that whole situation was seeing that and realizing that the book I needed to write had to be changed because people just weren't, they're not going to consume this the way that I thought they would. They
Mm.
Yeah.
need they need someone to be their cheerleader. They
Mhm.
need, you know, compassion and support, not just this, that, and the other, not the same stuff that they get with other books, creative books.
Mhm.
Um, and though a lot of the same information is there that maybe you find in another creative book, it's just that whole piece of let's affirm who we are, you know.
Yeah.
So as far as writing was concerned, it was, you know, it was challenging. It was
Mhm.
challenging. I procrastinated a lot. I'm a big procrastinator. I'll tell you. I'll tell.
We
Um,
all are.
I um, I think a lot of things, in our personal lives, we have to really watch who's around us,
Mm.
um, who's really in our corner. I live alone, so I don't have people at home that were, mommy or, can you do this? Can you do that? But a lot of people throughout that journey, is a lot of people that are no longer a part of my life. I had to really take a look at what was distracting me, what was getting me off course, in addition to my normal procrastination. But I would find myself drained by people that
Mm.
were, didn't have my best interest in heart,
Right.
and you get all caught up into the emotion of something that was nonsense. And then you find that, okay, 3 months went by and I haven't done anything with this book. There were times I was thinking, well, maybe I won't write it. It's
Mhm.
not coming together. There's dealing with those feelings.
Mhm.
um, but somehow or another, somebody would help you get back on track. There was a person that um, she said that she wanted to write her book, and we both said, okay, well, let's be accountability partners. Now,
Nice.
accountability partners never work well for me. They just don't, because I'm always more dedicated than the person, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and that gets to be old when people don't
Mhm.
follow.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
But it did light something in me in late 2022, I think, to start really getting things going. So
Ah,
and I think sometimes people come into our lives just for that.
Yeah.
It may not be for anything else. So
yes.
she was kind of like, okay, I have this book project too. And we both had contracts that we we paid up and didn't do nothing. So I said, okay, let's do this. And so it really got me going. And even when she kind of fell off, I just kept going,
Yeah.
and it just was different. As the end, like mid to late 2022. And then I found that writing in different locations, sometimes I'd write right here, sometimes I would write at that cafe.
Mhm.
I spoke to you all earlier that we're going to do the art break day. I will be hosting one
Mhm.
September there with the book. There's a co-writing space across the river from me in Alexandria, Virginia.
Mhm.
That was just something about it was supportive, and I would find myself, going to these places and writing. Um, I think one of the biggest things is to be compassionate with yourself through that process. Um, to be open. I had three people served as editors. I had beta readers,
Wow.
taking in,
Yeah.
because some people didn't do that I know. They were like beta readers and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I learned a lot. There's a group called Women in Publishing. They
Oh,
do a women's
Wow.
writing conference every year, virtual
Mhm.
conference,
Yeah.
um, usually early March. And it's one of the best conferences. I mean,
Mm.
that it's one of those great people that you pay for it, but you have access to the videos and everything for a year.
oh,
Oh,
that's
So,
wow.
amazing.
and you can download the videos.
Mhm.
They're very much about really reaching out to women. And
Mm.
I've gone maybe 2 or 3 times, and every time I learned something new. And so I learned a lot. I think that also being discerning about if you choose to do self-publishing, if you want to go with a publishing partner, um, or if you want to do a hybrid publisher, or if you want to do the traditional route, what does that mean? And being
Mhm.
clear as to what they provide for you is important.
Mhm.
Um, but really learning, I think one of the biggest things for me, and people say a lot of the biggest work is really after writing, when you
Mm.
get
Yes.
out there, because I'm
Right.
learning all these things about promoting a book,
Right.
about what I need to do, who I need to connect with. There's a lot of scammers, because so many people are writing now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so you have to really do your homework about if you need promotional help. Um, and I by no means, even though I have a marketing background, I'm not an expert
Right.
at all of this.
Right.
And so it's been kind of interesting, kind of going through that, because a lot of times you think that maybe, well, these folks will tell me how to do things, and they're
Mhm.
not. So
Right.
you have to really have enough wits about you to say, okay, who do I need to reach out to?
Yeah.
What workshops? Everybody got a publishing workshop. Everybody got, and not a lot of these folks don't know what they do, because I've
Right.
questioned folks about things I've learned other places, and they don't, so you begin to learn who knows
Mhm.
what. Um, Also know that your first project, you're going to make mistakes.
Mhm.
I
Right.
think, and I'm a perfectionist. I know that this book probably has a few mistakes in it. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to make a choice. Okay, do I keep going back and forth for another 60 days, or do we get the thing
Right.
out here
Ah,
and just apologize later? And long as it's not glaring, let's make it
Right.
work. You know what I'm saying? You have to
Oh,
make
yeah.
some decisions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think the biggest thing I was afraid of, and still is to a certain extent, is the reviews. What are
Ah,
people
yeah.
say? Are they going to
Yeah.
trash it? But then I said, I think you have to really think about your why,
yeah.
the question. Because if you don't really focus on that why, you get caught up in everybody else's whys.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
if your why is, to throw shade on the project, and if I
Yeah.
get caught up in that,
Yeah.
Right.
why gets, nixed.
Yeah.
And I am not coming forward the way that I said I would do as part of
Right.
when I know what my purpose is as a coach and
Yeah.
as a creative person working with people. I know that it's important for me to get this project out the best way I know how. So, yeah, okay. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. If there
Right.
was mistakes, if mistakes were the only thing you decided you were going to hype on, not the
Right.
content, not the material, then I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something that's your truth.
Right.
But when I know what my truth is and I'm clear about that and I continue to focus on that, I can't get caught up in what your why or your truth or whatever. You know,
Right.
you can take some of it as lessons learned and like, okay, next project, we won't do that. Um, or you can get consumed by it and be like, well, why didn't that person like it? Because
Right.
for the most part, unless it's just straight up terrible, you're not, the good is always going to outweigh the bad. We
Right.
just
Yeah.
tend to focus on the bad.
Right.
But,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I think it's really looking at what the good is. And
Mhm.
every time I talk about the project, people have been like, I got to get that book. I got to be. And that made me realize that this is a project this is a kind of book that a lot of people wanted. I was in a meeting the other day, which was interesting. It was an investment. I'm in an investment club. And I announced I was going to write this book. And it was interesting because I wouldn't think that those ladies would
Right.
be, and it always ends up somebody saying, yeah, that sounds like something I need to,
Mhm.
um, and one person even talked about I'm trying to write a mystery novel,
There you go.
and like a straight up corporate lawyer type,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow,
Right.
I said I think this might help you, and she had a little smile on her face. But those are the kinds of things those are types of people that are doing stuff that we don't know, but they don't share with people.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Nobody in that room knew that that's
Right.
what she was doing. She just
What?
Yeah.
shared that with me, and I was like, uh-huh. You didn't even think you were going to share that. But
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have these passions, they have these
Mhm.
Yeah.
goals. And so if I can be a conduit
Mhm.
through a book, um, and anything around that, and also to say, okay, affirmations are good. Let's see if we can work with that on your mindset about
Mhm.
it. You know, if I'm thinking I'm no good as an artist, how can we reframe that as an affirmation? Have those affirmations around the room or in the space that you're working in, you know, to kind of remind you, yes, I am a artist, owning who we are. I am a good artist. I am a productive artist. I am, you know, whatever way you want to say. So it's just important during a time when there's so many messages to the contrary of who we are,
Yeah.
That's
whether
what
we're creative or not.
I'm going to
Sure.
interject because I was, you know, the midlife crisis is kind of like a stereotype, midlife crisis, right? And you're talking about midlife creativity. So you're
Absolutely.
totally like flipping it, you know, you're flipping the coin, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you think about Gen X, we're
Mhm.
flipping that whole thing anyway. Number
Yes.
one, a lot of our celebrities, and of course they get a little help, you know, but
Yeah.
when you think about celebrities back in the day, even maybe 10 or 12 or 20 years ago, they're not showing up like these folks are.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, even when we talk about things like menopause,
Yes.
who's leading those discussions? We are.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We finally decided we're not going to sit back and try to guess about this, you know.
Right.
And some of our parents were open about it, some of them weren't. But we're leading a lot of the discussion on redefining what it is to be middle age.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
feel that I'm part of that. I want to be a
Yes.
part of that because my generation is like, I'm not going to continue to sit back
Right.
and
Right.
let it happen. I'm going to
Right.
question. I'm going to write. You know, there's more midlife blogs and podcasts,
Yes.
coaches and people. You know, it's not like it used to be, but
Yeah.
it's mostly driven by our generation, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of Gen X. Gen X is kicking butt.
We love Gen X.
We are, because you know we're the forgotten generation, you know, until somebody feels it. But the thing is, we have more money than a lot of these folks, and you know, but we're just overlooked. And my thing is, and I think that's part of my why too. I got tired of Gen X and how we came about, because we were trying to follow a lot of what those boomers were doing.
Mhm.
But the boomers, you know, they had their own little thing going on. And some of those doors closed right in the middle of the time we got to
Right.
that, whether it's
Yeah.
education, whether it's job, you know,
Mhm.
all that. I think we're doing pretty good with entrepreneurship, probably more
Yes.
than maybe some of the other groups, but we don't get much love for that, you know. They're beginning to, but you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But we tried to do the right thing, and even you know some people joke that we were kind of feral because you know we were latchkey kids, and you know
Mhm.
our parents kind of they didn't hover over us like you know some of the later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
generations. But the thing is, even when that happened, you know, even with us being out there, you know, we did the right thing, you know, and you know we didn't get love for it. And so this is like my love letter to my generation too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
Love
that.
that. Love
you
that.
know,
I think
we
that's
just
fabulous.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
didn't get. We weren't encouraged to be creative as
Mhm.
much. You know, we were. You know, when I was coming out of high school in the late '80s, I mean, everybody was about business, sciences, health, engineering, you know, law, those kinds of things. You know,
Mhm.
now the younger generations, which I think is great, they're being encouraged to go into the arts and to
Mhm.
do this,
Yeah.
but we weren't. And
Right.
so we had to make a living. I'm
Mhm.
trying to speak to those that have made their living
Right.
or continue to do that. But yeah, give yourself permission to do what you always wanted to do. It's not a it's okay. It's okay now.
Yes.
We don't have people telling us we can't do it no more. You can tell yourself you can
You're all
tell
grown
you.
up now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're grown up. You did what you had to do. The kids are out of the house on their way, you know. And even if you're trying to do all the things, Lauren has shown us that you can do it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the things that I want to share with people so they can give themselves permission to be free.
I love it. Love it. Wow. Lauren, do you want to say how it was to be in the book and how it was to contribute to it, and where did Lauren go? What? That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Lauren, she lost her camera, I think.
Well, I'll just say,
Yeah,
working with the creatives and the artists like Lauren
yeah.
and others, it was interesting because
Really.
when I got started on the project and worked with people, and then I would stop and ghost these folks, poor folks, I
Mhm.
was always thinking they're just probably thinking I'm just a joke. And it would be like a year or two later, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And the interesting thing is nobody dropped out.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Wow.
No one, and they were like, yeah, like if I said, okay, I need this, that, and the other, and they're like, yeah, and they would send
Mhm.
it to me.
I think there's,
Um,
yeah, I think there's a lot more collaboration for creativity. Speaking of like beyond generations, I mean, I don't know about you, Lisa, but since like Lisa and I met in grad school, and since
Mhm.
grad school, there's
Mhm.
certainly a lot more collaboration among creatives than there were when we were in grad school,
Yes.
And so I think, and that was how long ago was that? I was like 15,
100
more
years
than 15.
ago.
Yeah, it was like 100 years ago. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I just want to, I know I didn't get a chance to say this. I was about to be like, thank you so much. And then something disappeared. And I'm back now to just say, I really appreciate you taking the time to, kind of share the process that it
Mhm.
takes to go into creating a book like this. And I love it because you may not have noticed, but I noticed that you used all the aspects from your book to create the book. And I think that as I listened to you speak, you had to be your own cheerleader. You had to get beyond your imposter syndrome, right? You used affirmations. You found a space and you found your supporters in order to get it done. And it's as though you used your book to help you write your own book, which I think is so powerful.
That is
So anyway, thank you so much for talking to us about it. We're really excited for the launch, and I think it is definitely a book that everyone should use. I
I
think it'll
love that you
be.
said it was a love letter to your generation. That's just wow. It's a wow.
I,
Yeah.
you know, I, and it's funny because I just thought about that since I was talking to y'all. That's how all these beautiful things come into my head while I'm talking. Um, yes, the book is going to be launched on May 14th. It will, the Kindle version will be on sale the whole entire day. So you're able to download that. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing a virtual launch. And it looks like it will be on Facebook and on my YouTube page. And both of those you can find as Spark Your Creative. And would love for you to just, drop in. I will have my publisher will be there, Swiner Publishing. Um, Doc Swiner, shout out to her. Um, and then I am going to have a few of the artist contributors and creative contributors, including the person that designed my front and back cover.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, she will be there as well as one of the I would think one of the renowned art therapists
Mm.
that I have worked with, not through art therapy, but with some related projects. Matter of fact, she had a photo of some things I did, and she put that in a book that she did.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Wow.
returned the favor, and she's also been a podcast guest as
Hmm.
well. And then I'm going to have giveaways too. We're going to, give away some swag and a couple of the books. So, it's going to be fun. And I'm going to read a little bit from the book as well. So there's a variety of things that we have going on. And I have a number of book signings and events that are coming up. And a lot of this is going to be conversations. I am not one to just come on down, I'll sign your book.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Right.
am one, because I come from a program background and, human services and all that. I'm about really spreading the gospel of being creative at midlife.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
my first book signing, which is June 2nd in the Suitland, Maryland area, I'm going to have a panel of creative people
Cool.
that are
Love it.
going to talk about how they stay creative at midlife, what made them, continue or start or long, whether they're
Mhm.
lifelong kinds of creative activities or if they're just things that they kind of wanted to do. I have two retirees that will be on that panel. I have a person who is the program director for a nonprofit organization in the area, including creative aging program that will be
Mm,
speaking.
mm.
We'll be doing some door prizes and stuff there. And then I plan to do another conversation featuring some folks from the book that are local later in June and have
Okay.
them. So, it's not just about the book and me. It's about, I want to kind of have this as a way to promote creativity at
Mhm.
midlife
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
serve other people, not just, the
Right.
same old. So,
Love it.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all of that. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon because
Always. I love you both. I'm so
yeah.
excited to be doing Art Break Day in
Yes.
Yes.
person.
That's so
I did
exciting.
one virtually during the pandemic, but and hopefully this will be something I'll be able to do every year at this place, PJ's Coffee in Bowie, Maryland, if anybody's in that
All
area.
right. Sounds
Mhm.
good.
Be there.
How
So
All right.
nice. Thank you. I'm going to buy the book.
Yeah.